They lowered the McDonald's flag half-mast at Guantanamo. The McDonald's flag at Guantanamo Bay was lowered half-mast in honor of the GOP swamp creature who was assassinated by a sniper the day before 9/11, which I think we can all agree is the most American thing that has ever happened. They're saying they caught the guy who did it, some 22-year-old Utah kid with no priors. My social media feeds have been full of people debating whether he was right-wing or left-wing, or agreeing with each other that he was obviously one or the other depending on their own ideology and how insulated their echo chamber is. I am not young enough or online enough to understand what the hell they're talking about. It's all about memes and groyper culture and video game references and furries. Reading the discourse makes me feel older than rocks. I have no idea how much of what we're being told about this case is true and how much we are being lied to. All I know is at the moment it all fits very nicely into the pre-existing plans of the powerful. White House lackey Stephen Miller is saying that Charlie Kirk's assassination means radical left organizations need to be targeted and dismantled in the United States because it's what Charlie would have wanted. Miller told Fox News, "The last message that Charlie Kirk gave to me before he joined his creator in heaven was he said that we have to dismantle and take on the radical left organizations in this country that are fomenting violence. That was the last message that he sent to me before that assassin stole him from all of us. And we are going to do that under President Trump's leadership." End quote. Yeah, okay. The fascists want to roll out authoritarian measures and crush the left, something they definitely never planned on doing until this past Wednesday. And meanwhile, the nightmare in West Asia continues to blaze on with the backing of the empire Kirk spent his life supporting. People in Gaza are still being starved to death and shot while seeking aid and bombed in their homes, with scores of innocents slain in the days since Kirk's death in the genocide that he had actively facilitated. Former Israeli commander Herzi Halevi has publicly admitted that more than 200,000 Palestinians have been killed or injured since the onslaught began, a number which is surely a massive undercount. Israel killed at least 30 journalists in an attack on a press office in Yemen on Wednesday, because the only thing the Israelis love more than bombing hospitals is assassinating news reporters, and the only thing they hate more than Palestinians is the truth. On Thursday, the IDF abducted over 1,000 Palestinians at random in the West Bank following an explosion which wounded 2 Israeli soldiers, marching them through the streets in a public display of humiliation. Benjamin Netanyahu signed off on a major West Bank settlement expansion on Thursday, proclaiming that there will be no Palestinian state. This place belongs to us. Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich added that the West Bank will soon be annexed, a move which the Trump administration has reportedly signed off on. Anyway, yeah, things are dark. Sometimes, when the world looks dark and scary, I like to remind myself that the darkness was probably what pressed humanity to become the clever creature that it is. According to British anthropologist and primatologist Richard Wrangham, the most likely explanation for the explosion in human brain size in our evolutionary history was because our early ancestors started cooking their food with fire. This greatly reduced the amount of energy needed for chewing and digestion, which could then be redirected toward the brain, whose operation consumes a large amount of energy. Why did our ancestors start using fire? What was the initial appeal? It probably wasn't, I can roast this piece of animal flesh over the flames so my digestive system doesn't have to work so hard and I can reallocate those calories for other purposes. It was probably the warmth and the light. things which we wouldn't have had access to in the nighttime. Until our ancestors started making fire, the night would have been a terrifying time. Prehistoric predators would have been able to pick them off before they ever saw it coming. They'd have just huddled together, surrounded by an infinite stretch of darkness full of sharp teeth and claws until sunrise. They probably started making fires because they were afraid of the dark. If early humans had been a nocturnal animal, this probably wouldn't have happened. If their eyes had been adapted for night vision, they may never have been incentivized to go through all the hard toil and trial and error that would have gone into learning how to start and maintain a fire. They wouldn't have been afraid of the dark, so they wouldn't have started cooking. So their brains wouldn't have begun to grow, and all the brilliance of our species would never have emerged. All the artistic, scientific, and philosophical wonders that we have birthed into this world would never have existed. We get to experience all these amazing things, ultimately because our world used to be dark and scary. Maybe the darkness of these times will press us to make the next adaptations necessary for a further leap forward as a species.